Thank you for joining us despite your busy schedule and despite the short notice. We will now begin the joint press conference on progress of strategic partnership study by Nissan and Honda. Let me introduce to you the members on stage. Mr. Makoto Uchida, Director, Representative Executive Officer, President and CEO, Nissan Motor Corporation Limited. Mr. Toshihiro Mibe, Director, President and Representative Executive Officer, Honda Motor Company Limited. At the outset, the presidents of both companies will explain the substance of the announcement, after which we will accept your questions. I am Honda of Nissan Corporate Communications, and I will be the MC. I hand over to Mr. Mibe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today despite your busy schedule. Nissan and Honda announced that the two companies would start a feasibility study of a strategic partnership back on March 15th. Today, we would like to provide you with an update on our progress. We were about to launch the study when we made our announcement in March. At the time, I thought it's too soon for us to shake hands. To be honest, I was a little shocked that the media focused on that point more than I expected. So, first of all, I would like to report that based on the discussion so far, progress has been made that enables us to firmly shake hands. As I said at the previous press conference, the feasibility study was triggered by the common understanding between the two executives of Nissan and Honda. We both believe that the company will not be able to survive unless it adapts to the dynamically changing conventions of the global auto industry resulting from technological innovations such as vehicle intelligence and electrification. Conventionally, automotive OEM like us have been developing our core competencies in precision and efficient monozukuri, focusing on internal combustion engines. Given the ongoing structural changes in our industry, we questioned ourselves if there is a possibility of Nissan and Honda bringing together the strengths that each of us have been developing over the years rather than competing with each other in the traditional framework, thereby creating chemical reactions to deliver new automotive values and new technological competencies. This was how we decided to kick off the feasibility study. Specifically, we defined three scopes, namely automotive software platforms, core components related to EVs, and complementary products. Focusing on these three scopes, we created working groups to examine the details while involving the people at the Gemba. Since then, the two companies have been involved in the talks with a sense of speed. In particular, speed is the most required element for us considering our size. By gathering the members who are playing an active role in their respective fields to discuss long-term visions together as a team, they can build awareness and inspire each other. Through friendly rivalry, their sense of the need for speed will increase. This was what Mibe-san and I expect to see as an impact under the slogan of 100-day sprint. With the spirit of running through the first 100 days, we have been monitoring the progress of the active discussion that was held on an equal footing. Although the two companies have different company cultures, we discovered that the closer it gets to the Gemba level, our people share the common perception on the challenges we face. As we proceeded with discussions based on the spirit of mutual trust and respect, we also confirmed that the benefits of joining forces were greater than expected. At the Gemba level, the teams of both companies are excited about the possibilities of this potential collaboration. We identify the areas of potential collaboration where 1 + 1 can lead to 2 or more synergies. We have 5 agenda items to share with you today. Joint research on fundamental technologies for next-generation SDV platforms. Complemented supply of batteries, common e-axle, mutual product complementation, collaboration in energy services and resource circulation in Japan. All of these initiatives are designed to create attractive mobility in the future and provide increased value to customers. We will now explain our efforts in the 5 areas where we believe software is the key. Advancing software enhances the value of cars and services and redefines the relationship between customers and their cars. Here's how Honda and Nissan are approaching the area of software platform. The first one is the joint research on fundamental technologies for the next generation SDV platform, which we mentioned as an area of vehicle intelligence. To meet the diversifying needs of today's customers, we need the freedom that software can provide. As the speed of change accelerates, hardware-centric evolution cannot keep up. This is why we need to transition to SDV, where software that enables personalization and shorter-term development defines value. A platform for SDV transformation consists of SoC, E&E architecture, software platform, data platform, and development environment. A source of competitive strength can be obtained by optimizing these elements at a high level. Based on this SDV platform, both companies will be able to quickly provide new added value to customers by adding and updating applications. In addition, we will significantly improve the power-saving performance of EVs and improve the driving range by making power management highly intelligent. In addition, autonomous driving is one of the great values evolving on the SDV platform. Fully autonomous driving is something that will become a reality in the future. Fully autonomous driving will significantly change the relationship between cars and people and the value experienced through transportation itself. Based on this belief, many companies are taking various approaches to update autonomous driving technology. In this evolution, competitiveness is determined by the following factors: the quality and number of engineers, the amount of data, and computational power. To make it work, people who share the ambition should work together as a team rather than working alone. In other words, partnership has much greater benefits, and we have therefore deepened our discussions. As a result of these discussions, we discovered the following. The engineers of both companies had shared thoughts and ideas in their SDV concepts and technology approach. More importantly, the engineers of both companies are excited about the shared vision of aiming to be a world leader despite the company culture differences. This is why we agreed to conduct joint research on fundamental technologies for the next generation SDV platform, including the central architecture, and have already started the research. We recognize the need for speed, so we aim to finish the basic research in about a year. Once the results are achieved, we will consider the possibility of mass production development. Let me talk about the area of electrification. Battery and e-axle, which are key components of electrification, belong to the process industry, and mass production requires a huge investment. In addition to the huge investment needs, there is also a risk of not being able to recoup the investment if we cannot hit the planned volume in the course of continuous technological evolution. It requires careful management by an OEM. Honda and Nissan have been producing and procuring batteries and e-axles separately till now. By aligning the specifications of the two companies, we can share the investments and diversify the risks. At the same time, we can expect cost reduction thanks to the volume impact. From this perspective, we have been exploring possibilities of mid to long-term as well as short-term cooperation. First one is battery. Nissan and Honda are developing their own battery technology. By joining forces, we can enjoy a wider range of options from high-power version to low-cost version. Honda has a joint venture with LG Energy Solutions in the United States and plans to mass-produce batteries jointly developed with GS Yuasa in Japan and later in Canada. Meanwhile, Nissan has more than 10 years of experience selling electric vehicles worldwide. Based on this knowledge, while taking into account the circumstances of each region, the company has been considering procuring batteries through the partnership with ASC in Japan and looking into various options in North America, including low-cost batteries. As part of these efforts, from a mid to long-term perspective, Nissan and Honda have reached a basic agreement to commonize the specifications of cell modules. This will enable batteries to be used in either company's vehicles. Once that happens, batteries procured by either Nissan or Honda can be used in either company's cars. In addition, Honda and Nissan will study Nissan being supplied from 2028 with lithium-ion batteries produced by the joint venture in the United States between Honda and LG Energy Solutions. We see these initiatives as very significant in responding to changes in the market environment and technological advances, as well as in reducing investment risks. The next one is e-axle. We reached a basic agreement in aiming to align the e-axle specifications of both companies in the mid to long term. As a first step, we agreed to share motors and inverters, which are core to e-axles. We believe that commonizing specifications of batteries and e-axles, which are core components of EVs over the mid to long term, will be a significant achievement in terms of gaining volume benefits, reducing investment risks, and increasing resilience to various changes. Of course, even if the core components of EVs are commonized, it will not automatically determine the performance and attractiveness of our cars. Each company intends to use the competitiveness we gain through the shared use of key parts as the basis for developing its own distinctive and attractive products. I will talk about the fourth item, which is the status of the study on complementary products. In this regard, we are exploring possibilities globally from the short and mid to long-term perspectives. We reached a basic agreement on the models and regions to be targeted at, especially for the short term. Both Nissan and Honda are particular about products. As an effort that is unique to the two companies, we agreed on an outline that includes a scheme for checking the product marketability of the models that are complementary. Details are still being worked out, so we will refrain from specifying the models today. What we can say is that we are exploring possibilities of mutual supply of ICE and EVs. We will let you know once decisions are made. What is important is to increase customer value by enriching the product lineup without compromising the DNA or Nissan-ness or Honda-ness. Lastly, regarding the fifth point, Nissan and Honda agreed to hold concrete discussion on energy service business and resource circulation, mainly in Japan. As mentioned earlier, we aim to commonize the specifications of key components such as battery and e-axle over the long term. By studying the use of EVs from the life cycle perspective based on the assumption that the specifications will be common, we may be able to find greater potential. This is the background of this agreement. Given that both companies are already involved in various partnerships in this domain, we are taking a careful and yet bold approach in discussing the matter. Now that we have explained the 5 areas that Nissan and Honda are considering, I am happy to announce that a new party is joining the discussion of potential strategic partnership. It's Mitsubishi Motors. Today, we signed an MOU among the 3 companies. I am confident that by entering into the 3-party collaborative framework, we can create new value by combining the technologies and knowledge of the 3 companies and further enhance the efficiency. Based on the status of the ongoing talks that we described today, we will deepen our discussion to achieve greater synergies, including Mitsubishi Motors. As I said at the outset, the discussion of this potential partnership is triggered by our common perception on the global environment surrounding the auto industry, in which the conventions are dynamically changing due to technological innovations such as intelligence and electrification. As I said, companies that cannot cope with the circumstances will not survive. We took the first step forward as a result of the discussion till now. Swift implementation of the concept and delivery of results will be important going forward. Now that chemical reactions have been created among engineers at the Gemba, we will use this as a driving force to accelerate the efforts. We intend to take action quickly. We will keep you updated on our progress. We look forward to your continued support. Thank you for your attention.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. We will now begin the Q&A session. Please state your name and affiliation and specify to which president the question is addressed. Due to time constraints, we ask each person to focus only on one question so that we can cater to as many questions as possible. Those with questions, please raise your hand, and those who are participating through Zoom, please use the raise hand button. Then, in the center block, person in black polo shirt on the first row.
日本経済新聞
Nihon Keizai Shimbun, my name is Okinaga. Thank you for the opportunity. Mitsubishi Motors will be joining the talks. So there will be two big powers in front of, including Toyota. And while we see two big powers, why were you able to decide to join hands? I think it's for the success of EV. I would like to ask the two CEOs how you were able to come to a decision to work together. May I? Says Uchida-san. Okay. Well, if you look at the business climate today, I have to say that the markets are fragmenting. Given these circumstances, if we want to increase our competitive edge, we need to increase the number of friends on our sides. From this perspective, on March 15th, we said that we are trying to hold discussions with Honda, and there was a question about Mitsubishi Motors at that time. Naturally, if there is any possibility that contribute the growth of Mitsubishi Motors, we would like to make friends so that we can make more benefits or synergies and look for possibilities. Today, the car industry. That's the direction that the car industry is going to. Today, there are a lot of challenges that each company is facing. So by joining forces of the three entities, we would like to make sure we can deliver more impact or better results.
If I may then respond to that question, as all of you know well, electrification and intelligence. In these areas, there are emerging players, and the speed is beyond our expectations, and change is occurring more rapidly than we had expected. We're trying hard, but if we try to do everything on our own, under the current status quo, we cannot catch up or overcome those players. So what do? We've studied various options. But in order to overcome the top group, we thought that we need technology and we need to have friends that can share common understanding and way of thinking, to share not just technology, but to enjoy the economy of scale. 2030 is going to be a milestone as we compete in this environment. That being said, we have to take the move right now, or else we will be able to catch up. That's why we began the discussions. And as we study, of course, number counts. So there's the economy of scale. So we talked to Nissan. It was quite recent that we began to talk with Nissan. So as we digest what we've been discussing between Honda and Nissan, we will think about where Mitsubishi can join. It was just today that the trilateral MOU has been signed, so Mitsubishi will be joining us in the times ahead. But we will be cherry-picking the strength of the three parties in order to enjoy the synergy amongst the three. So maybe you're worried that speed will be decelerated when the three get together. But I wouldn't call right now a peacetime. It's contingency. So just doing the same thing is not going to give us global competitiveness. So in that sense, this cooperation between the three will be a strong weapon as we compete in this environment. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Okay, thank you very much. We would like to move on to the next question. Yes, the second block over here, which is at the front row, please. The person wearing glasses with a white, light blue shirt. Yes, Asahi Shimbun Nishiyama is speaking now. Today's announcement, maybe it's too premature. Going forward, how are you going to proceed the discussion? You have to make a lot of investments in research and development going forward. So including Mitsubishi Motors, is there a possibility of capital alliance? What's your approach to the possibility of the capital alliance? This is a question for both CEOs. Yes, go ahead. As of today, we haven't discussed about that matter yet, I said, because today there are different possibilities of collaboration. We have been working to define the what so far. And going forward, we have to talk about the how, H-O-W. I think that's what triggered this question. What, as Mibe-san mentioned earlier, sense of urgency is where we started. This has been the driver of the discussion. So what is what we have been working out, and how is the next question. From the business perspective, we need to discuss the how. For three entities, we will look for the most win-win way. That's the kind of how we would like to define.
As Mr. Uchida had just mentioned, at this point in time, we have not discussed capital tie-up, but we are thinking about the potential of future businesses. We will not deny that possibility. So from time to time, we will make the right judgment. Thank you.
はい、ありがとう。
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the next question, the second block, the second row. Yes, please.
日刊自動車
Nikkan Jidosha Shimbun. My name is Mizutori. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Earlier, Uchida-san, you talked about the differences in company culture, but the closer you get to the Gemba, people had a common perception of challenges you face. I understand that you see a common challenges, but how are you going to solve the challenges? You talk about how, H-O-W earlier. I think you have a totally different approach you are taking to how, especially the engineering people. Engineers feel that they are the best. They have the confidence and pride in what they are doing. So are you sure that you can facilitate the discussion and collaboration even at the level of Gemba engineers? What kind of discussions underway at the Gemba? Thank you very much for the question. Yes. When the two companies with the technology are talking to each other, yes, people may be worried if the discussion will go smoothly or not. But as I said earlier, while the people at the Gemba are discussing, the sense of urgency or the purposes, once they are shared, we can expand the possibilities of the what that referred to earlier. And in fact, we have the people who are in charge of next generation SDV on the Gemba from Honda and Nissan, Yoshizawa-san and Shikama-san. So if I may, I would like to ask the two gentlemen to share with you what kind of ambience the discussion is held in.
Honda のシカマと申します。
Shikama of Honda. I'm in charge of software development. Thank you for letting me speak. The question was with regards to the atmosphere at the Gemba on the floor. And in fact, prior to this discussion was launched with Nissan, I only considered Nissan as a friendly competitor. And I was a bit worried whether this collaboration is going to work. But then we began the conversation, and I used to consider Nissan as a rival, which means that I appreciated their technological capability. And then I began to converse with Nissan engineers and discovered that they are highly competitive. And we began this conversation with Nissan engineers. And of course, at the outset, I was trying to feel out to where we can disclose information. But then the meetings became frequent, and we now meet a few times a week. And after repeating these meetings, a very mystical chemical reaction occurred. And Gemba people began to come up with new ideas. Maybe this is what we should do through collaboration. This is a common challenge. So let us have a timeline to resolve these issues. So many proposals popped up from the Gemba, and that kind of chemical reaction was generated. So that was a very intense 100 days that has brought us to today. Yes, cultures are different. It's true that that's being said, but when we are witnessing technology, in terms of the feeling of urgency, even if the cultures are different, both of us, engineers of both companies, feel a sense of urgency, and we are respecting each other, and through chemical reaction, we've been able to keep close communications. Yoshizawa-san, I'm really curious what you think.
Thank you. I am Yoshizawa from Nissan. Yes, both companies are Japanese automakers, and we both have long history. And naturally, we see differences in cultures. Yes. But in reality, the ambition or passion about technology, or from time to time, the being sticking to the technology of its own, that's similar between the two. Having said that, through the discussions between the two companies, the point is that with SDV, today, Tesla and Chinese makes are more advanced in SDV. Based on this assumption, we Japanese automakers, both Honda and Nissan, we want to win in the domain of SDV and lead the domain. That's the ambition that we share. And in pursuit of this goal, what should we solve as an issue? The perception on the challenges that we have to solve are shared between the two. Having the common understanding drove the progress of the discussion. As Shikama-san mentioned earlier, and we involve engineers at the forefront line and holding discussions weekly. Because we are both engineers, mutual understanding resulted in mutual respect, and as a result, we were able to continue good discussions between the two teams. And the engineers of both companies, there was a mention about the chemical reaction earlier. The power to generate something new is what we see in this framework. So I think we are confident to create something new, a new world.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Shikama-san. Yoshizawa-san, please go back to your seat. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to take questions from the Zoom system. Tsuruhara-san, please. Tsuruhara-san.
ありがとう。
Yes, thank you very much for taking me. I am Tsuruhara. Uchida-san, this is a question for you. So far, SDV, the vehicle OS at the basis or E architecture, you had an alliance with Renault in engineering these items, and Renault seems to be leading this domain in this partnership. That was what I understood. But this potential collaboration with Honda on SDV, how will it impact Renault and Nissan's relationship? This will be eliminated and you will just focus on the collaboration with Honda, or are you going to proceed in consideration of the existing partnership with Renault to the extent that you can disclose? Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, SDVs, electrical architecture that you refer to, and Renault, who is our partner, it was driving. That's what you understood. But we have been doing this by generating mutual synergies. And what we are talking to Honda is about the next generation SDV. So it's different from what we are working now. And as a result, we will no longer collaborate with Renault? That was your question. But Renault decided to establish Ampere to enhance its value, and we decided to make investment in Ampere, and this remains unchanged. And in the partnership between Renault and Nissan, we have a growth strategy in Europe, and we are working together to grow ourselves in Europe using the support from Ampere, and this remains unchanged. Needless to say, not only Renault, but it's the same for Mitsubishi Motors, ASEAN, and in the ARC MTP, we announced about many synergies, and we will collaborate with these partnerships. But this alone, there are so many challenges that we need to address. So that is why in the talks with Honda, we would like to be a good partner so that this contribute to our growth. That's the intention. Therefore, this is frequently asked as a question. As a result, the talks of Honda, will this eliminate the partnerships with Renault? That's not the case. In the global arena, for Nissan to grow in the global arena, we need to work with partners in many ways, in the many areas. Does that answer your question? Yes, thank you very much.
はい、それでは続きまして、
Next, Automotive News, Hans-san.
Yes, hello, this is Hans from Automotive News. Thank you for taking my question. You can hear me fine?
Yes.
Super, thank you. I have a couple of questions. I'm wondering, when you talk about SDVs, the software-defined vehicles, it seems that you have the two old guard automakers joining up to make software, but perhaps it might be better to join with an outside tech company that already knows software very well and can bring that kind of expertise to the table. Isn't there some kind of talk about maybe finding an outside tech partner to team up with for software? Can you discuss maybe the need for a third partner from outside the industry, perhaps, like as is done with Sony and Honda, for example? Also, can you talk a little bit about the timeframes here when you say mid to long term? Is that basically through the end of this decade? Is that how we should think about this, through 2030? And finally, what kind of joint investment will be needed from both sides here? What kind of investments do you imagine for some of these things, like the joint research on SDVs or the commonization of standards for batteries and e-axles and things? What kind of money are we talking about? Thank you.
じゃあ
Then may I begin? SDV development will be done by Honda and Nissan. That's what we said. We're not going to be making everything just through the two of us. Even today, Honda has partnership with various companies in software development, and Nissan as well. Nissan is doing something similar. So core design, of course, that would be done by the two companies, but in that process, there would be external input based upon our relationship with software companies in order to come up with a highly competitive new SDV platform. So, Hans, within the context of our relationship between these two companies, there would be other companies that will be offering their contribution in order to maximize the competitiveness of the final product. So you talked about timeline. We're talking about next generation SDV platform. At the moment, mass production development, it would be 2026, 2027 model, which has already been launched. So it will be, next generation will be beyond 2027 model. So research is about a few years ahead. So it's going to be different than use of SDB in the current mass production. It will be significantly a big evolution beyond what we are doing today. So I cannot give you a specific timeline, but next generation is what we're talking about. If possible, since you're all here, if I can give you more information, if we're successful in the research, we hope that we can provide something before 2030. And in terms of software, development cost is going to be enormous. I cannot attach a specific number, but if we are going to split the software investment, that's going to be a big savings, even just that portion. So we are expecting significant effect from development costs. And also through the two companies, there will be acceleration of development and the technological level will be elevated. So we'll be talking about money, cost, expenditure, development. So against these three factors, we think that this collaboration is going to be truly effective. So I hope you understand the points that I have mentioned. And then battery and e-axle battery. Today we talked about commonization. For example, size of battery. If size is commonized, for example, low price, affordable price battery can be manufactured by one, and then high-powered battery could be produced by the other. Then both can be used by both companies, Nissan and Honda. So that would give us more freedom in terms of options. So that would be another effect. On e-axle, today we talked about battery and inverter. Sorry, not battery, motor and inverter. To use exactly the same motor and inverters in order to enjoy economy of scale and reduce cost. So regarding e-axle, each company has its own suppliers. So in the end, we want to use the same product and through commonization. So we'll be doing much discussion. But at this stage, our idea is to use the same motor and inverters in order to enjoy economy of scale. I hope I answered your question, Hans-san.
はい、ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Han-san, excuse me, this is Fujita-san. Let me add, as Mibe-san said, technology, earlier Shikama-san and Yoshizawa-san was also talking about this. Maybe you got this impression. Technology, elevating the power of technology, 1 + 1 should make more than 2. That's what we are expecting from the potential collaboration. And also the speed will increase as a result. This will contribute to the competitiveness in the future. That's our aim. Needless to say, when we talk about next generation SDV, this will require a tremendous amount of investment. That's what we understand. And with a sense of speed and the sharing the investment with the friends, at the end of the day, this will translate to the competitiveness in the future. When you talk about timing, I agree with what Mibe-san said earlier. But at Japan Mobility Show, we showed some concept cars. These concept cars may come earlier across the industry, which means that we have to be ready for this. So that is why, in terms of time frame, the existing plan, as you may know, in automakers, what years the models will be introduced in the existing plan. You know the lead time. So we have the sense of urgency that these future things will come more earlier than what we expected. This is my answer. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next question. Best car, Terasaki-san, please. Yes, thank you, Best Car Editor. My name is Terasaki. Wow, this is a significant announcement which I am excited about. One question, complementary products. Around 2030, you said that you're going to deliver results. That's your intention. Nissan, Honda, according to your business plan, in 2030, 50% will be ICE. You will continue building and selling ICE, 50% of the total number. This potential collaboration, this is mainly around SDV, right? But is it about EV or not limited to EV, but does it include plug-in hybrid and hybrid? Product complementary, is this possible? That's what I want you to elaborate on. Thank you.
じゃあ最初に私の方から
Let me respond first. This is Mibe speaking. As we said in our initial presentation regarding complementary products, ICE to EV, we are looking at the whole range. Intelligence and electrification, that's the direction we are proceeding towards. But as Terasaki-san just said, we have to continue to run our current business. So omnidirectional efforts cannot be done by just one company alone. So the existing business included, we are thinking about potential complementation of products, and then that could lead to further complementation in the mid to long run. We've been talking for 100 days now, so the picture has become more concrete. In the near future, we hope that we can give you more information regarding vehicle complementation.
Yes, as Mibe-san said, what's possible, as long as it's mutually beneficial for two entities, we would like to work on it. I'm not going to limit. We have no intention to limit the scope. So there are quick wins as well as the mid and long-term perspective potential benefits. That's what we are discussing about. So today, we cannot give you the details yet, but going forward, when it's more mature, we would like to give you an update. Thank you very much.
それでは
Okay, Nakanishi-san from Nakanishi Automotive Research, please. Yes, Uchida-san, Mibe-san. Congratulations on coming to an agreement. I am automotive journalist. My name is Nakanishi. What's significant is SDV platform. This is the area where you have signed the agreement. The rest are more like a base agreement or discussion is underway. So I think there is a significance in the decision. Mibe-san, could you elaborate on this? Fundamental technologies, joint research on fundamental technologies. What does it mean specifically? Central architecture will be included, you said. Fundamental technologies, you are researching this for 1 year, and can you make it by 2028? I'm worried. Specifically, what are you doing? Could you visualize this? And money is the next question. Is this agreed already? For example, you talk about 2 trillion yen in investment in software. How does this potential collaboration impact this?
Research has already begun. So to a certain extent, regarding your question, Nakanishi-san, we're already engaged in specific discussions. But today we cannot give you the details. But we're going to do the SDB platform together. So we've actually given you some factors within our presentation. Could we put up the slides again? SoC, System on Chip. That's what it stands for. And semiconductors will be installed. E&E architecture, software platform, vehicle OS will also be included. Data platform. Of course, the data owned by the two companies. That includes personal information. So we have to be very sensitive in dealing with personal information. But to the extent possible, we want to commonize data, especially for use in AI. But in so doing, we cannot do it if the development environment is different. So we have to share the development environment. That's where we will be starting ADAS together, AD and ADAS included. We will solidify our collaboration in fundamental technologies development towards mass production. So we're thinking about 1 year from now. We want to tilt towards our discussion on products side. So that's all I can say at this stage. Thank you very much. Effect is there, or else we won't be doing this. As I said, software development is in the order of trillions of yen. So if we are able to share that, it's easy to imagine that that would be a big savings of development expenditure. So that is going to be a significant advantage. Thank you very much.
はい、それではここ
Now, going back to the question from this room. Yes, the second block, third row from the front.
すみません、読売
Yomiuri Shimbun, my name is Mokoyama. This is a question for both CEOs. This battery e-axle commonization, you have a Keiretsu or suppliers where you are investing in as well. I think you need to collaborate with these business partners and convince them. How are you going to proceed in convincing them? May I? I would like to start. Yes, e-axle, commonization of e-axle, motor and inverter. We are using a common supplier for these components. So we believe that we can discuss with these existing suppliers. And as Mibe-san referred to, the manufacturing, industrialization. The question on industrialization is the subject of further discussion. Now that the business climate is tough in many aspects, we would like to pursue the good direction that will result in benefits for both entities. We will continue holding discussion, and at need, we need to review how we should be organized in this business climate. Did that answer your question?
モーターインバーター
Our goal is to use the same motors and inverters, meaning that I've given the permission to talk about the name of the company, Hitachi Astemo. This is the common supplier for both companies, and we've already agreed to be supplied by Hitachi Astemo. After that, we have to think about cost benefit. E-axle commonization would deliver the biggest advantage. But as you have pointed out, each of us have different suppliers. So including that relationship with our suppliers, we will look for the best answer. And if possible, we ultimately wish to commonize e-axle in itself, and studies will begin. That's where we are today.
ありがとうございます。
Okay, thank you. The person at the back of the person who asked the previous question, I am Toyoshima from Televi Tokyo. This is a question for both CEOs. It's in relation with the earlier questions. Going forward, in order to make a speedy decision, do you have an intention to share the money in investing and creating a new company between the two? Is this one of the options that you are looking for? Because both companies, basically for SDV, you have a relationship, deep relationship with Google, and you talk about there is a possibility to work with outside business partners. Is this really, do you have a possibility to have an association with Google too? Well, today we we cannot talk about the details. What is what we have been defining? You talked about how now. If this translates to competitive edge, we need to explore possibilities if that is the case. Among the three entities, if we find the possibilities that translate to the competitiveness of the companies and ensure the competitiveness, we are ready to explore the possibilities. It's about how.
豊島さんご指摘の
As you rightly pointed out, Toyoshima-san, as we continue these collaborations, there are many ways to do this. Are we going to establish a new company? That may be a possibility. It could be an option. Or we would like to spend more time to find out the optimal way of collaboration between the two companies. And we will continue to talk. And if we come up with a decision, we will probably be able to share that decision with you. Google. Each of us has a relationship with Google already, but we haven't had the opportunity to talk about any specific company yet.
他にいらっしゃいますか。
Anyone else? Yes, the person in the middle, A block, at the very front row, who is raising hand now.
ご説明
Thank you for the presentation, NHK. My name is OB. This is a question for both CEOs. Earlier, you shook hands. And during the presentation, you talk about trust between the two. Based on the mutual trust, specifically, what do you expect from each other? And based on this, your expectation, how are you going to deliver results? To be straightforward, you would want to be a winner in the world arena, or where do you want to be a winner? In which domain do you want to be a winner?
どの分野で、
In which area? Well, I've given you much information already, but first and foremost, we will share technology each one of us has owns. And there are emerging manufacturers who are currently enjoying the lead. We have to catch up and overcome them. And in myself, that's the highest priority. Based upon that, if we make efforts, we will enjoy economy of scale. And there is the impact of reduction of development expenditure. And I think effects will be generated from other areas as well. But what's most important is to advance and take the lead at the global market in intelligence and electrification.
そうですね。
In the future, the automotive value will change. I talked about future, but it's the near future now. If we think about the near future, we need to increase the competitive edge by then. And to this end, as I have been mentioning earlier, while we share the sense of urgency, our efforts will translate to better technology, and we have to do it speedily. Otherwise, the competitors in other countries, we have to keep up with them. So we need to create a scheme that enable us to compete effectively. Otherwise, we may be worried about the potential growth going forward. So today, in the auto industry, we want to make sure we keep our strong position in the auto industry. That's what we shared between the two companies, and that's what we need to pursue.
それではですね、予定した終了時刻に近づいて
We are running out of time, so we would like to take two final questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand.
はい、ではその2つ目のブロックで
Second block at the first row, in the first row, who is raising hand?
本日はありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. Kuge of Nikkei Automotive. My question. Motor and inverter commonization was mentioned. At Nissan, you have e-Power and motor is used in hybrid. But not just EV, but what about BEV and hybrid? PHEV, plug-in hybrid or hybrid? What's the plan?
May I? It's a specific question. Hybrid and plug-in hybrid, we are not ready to talk about the specifics, but motor and inverter. At Nissan, we have e-power. Yes, there's an affinity in the area of e-power. In the future generations, we are discussing the possibility of working together if it makes sense.
Naturally, hybrid and plug-in hybrid technology in these areas are still very powerful and competitive. We've been talking about 2030. About even if half is going to be EV, that means the remaining half will be ICE power units. So in that context, if that's the picture, how much resource do we spend on what? And what's the scale that we will have in place at that time? So as an option for collaboration, if there's mutual benefit, I will not deny such possibility. So in the months and years ahead, I'm sure that both companies will be talking about such topics. But at the moment, we haven't begun any specific conversation on that particular issue.
Yes, the person in the middle at the very back who is raising hand. Toyo Keizai, my name is Hata. This is a question for both gentlemen. In electric, there are car makers who are more advanced in electrification. Compared to BYD and Tesla, what is the shortcomings of Honda or Nissan EVs? You talk about the 5 areas. By implementing the efforts on these 5 domains, can you catch up or do you need more? May I? So what is the shortcoming? Where are we falling short? I think it's speed. You talk about BYD earlier. In China, BYD has a significant scalability and they are very fast. So while we catch up with these players, I mean, can we do this? That's what we need to go faster. Otherwise, are we competitive enough? I think it's about the timeline here. Even if we have amazing technologies, unless we can make a business out of it, and if the timing of business is adapted to the market needs, this will not deliver benefits. So in that sense, if you ask what, I think it's speed. How to increase the speed is the question here.
You mentioned BYD. We never specified BYD, but there are forerunners, and their speed is much faster, and I admit that. One reason is because they've gone beyond an automotive OEM, and they have an effective relationship with IT companies, and they've been creating new SDVs in that context. So, of course, two of us will collaborate with each other, but speed is an important factor. So, the conventional timeline of Honda and Nissan is not what we are going to be pursuing. We will be released, unleash ourselves from the sense of speed of the conventional structure and gain more speed. The game has just begun. So we haven't gone to the serious inning. We have still more time. So by making use of this framework, that's where we want to be ultimately. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。それではお時間。
Thank you very much. It's time, so we would like to conclude the Q&A session. With this, we would like to end the joint press conference. Thank you for joining the session, and good night.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.